I look ridiculous in this beard, or lack of beard. Okay. First off, I want to say I love Krunker. I stream it almost daily at this point and want nothing more for the game to grow in notoriety and success. I've been playing for a bit over 2 months now and am quickly approaching the level of 100 mark and red challenge level, so I have a bit of grounding in the game. If you're new to the channel, how's it going? My name is Honest, and I used to be a stockbroker, but I left all that to pursue my dream of being a gamer and eating potato chips on the couch, so that's been going well for me. I've been into competitive video games since I was 9 years old, which is about 16 years now, and I've gained some knowledge along the way of the industry at this point. I've been top of the leaderboards in North America for games such as Overwatch, League of Legends, Valorant, World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike Source, and Counter-Strike Go. I'm okay when it comes to first-person shooters. So with that being said, Krunker is something I found unique. It's really its own game. Those looking in see nothing more than Minecraft with guns, but the newcomers are immediately hooked by that fast-paced gameplay and high skill cap. I know I can speak for others when I say that seeing my own progression as I went from walking to bunny hopping to slide hopping and nuking consistently, that it's extremely satisfying, that journey. While there has been a League of Survival mode, what really gets Krunker players going is that non-stop action that they're thrown into without any pads on from the get-go. That's the beauty of the game, and that's why I have an issue with what's been happening to it. As we're talking about recent changes, the most noticeable one for my gameplay as primarily a pug player are the throwing knives that have been introduced, which one hit you at any point in the body. Previously, there was an attempt to balance classes in a rock, paper, scissors format. For instance, you'd have a machine gunner with 170 health, so it could not be one-shot by snipers, and they would have a very low damage output as a result. And you'd have snipers with a very high damage output and the ability to one-shot many classes, but they had very low health, 60 health to be exact. Giving everybody the ability to one-shot takes away from the skill level of the game, where players would have been forced to win a firefight to stop a player on a high kill streak before. Now it's stopped simply by hitting any part of the enemy with a knife, or maybe even a crossbow. This type of change doesn't compel people to want to get headshots. It doesn't make you feel good about aiming well. It reinforces just hitting any part of the body. Recently, crossbow changes were being made every day. For the last week or so, every day there was a slight change to the crossbow, which signals to players that there wasn't really a lot of forethought put into it. It was tuned up to be the best weapon in the game at the start, then scaled back to a slower reload with more responsiveness than before. Then the changes were completely scrapped and reverted to the version before the update. These changes seem to be skewed towards players with less skill being able to override the skill of more advanced players. Really, that's what it feels like to me and to other people that I've been talking to. Whether this is to make new players feel better or to provide more consistency across the classes, though, it takes away from the charm of the game that I mentioned originally. Players don't have to learn about how to move faster and aim better if they can simply hit any part of their opponent's hitbox and delete them. A lot of players have been using the counter argument that good players just need to become better to kill these players faster with the knives and the crossbows. This argument could hold weight if the game could provide more servers to reduce ping. We'll get more into that later, but currently it is not possible to guarantee a shot to any part of the body based off of what you see as a player, making it really difficult or impossible for good players to consistently hit headshots and eliminate crossbow and knife wielders faster than they can get the shot off. As a result, the logical solution would be to normalize the damage for weapons across the torso and limbs. That would be a great improvement. It would mean that players who use higher skill-based weapons are given a fighting chance against knives and arrows, which if you're going for a kill streak, you have to face that same player with that knife multiple times, usually at least 6 to 8 times before you get the nuke. We're talking about issues that need to be addressed. I have quite a few of them, but I think they all go back to kind of a central theme of having to really double down on the development of the game and take it seriously. A couple of the things that I notice going through them would be client-side reporting. The most serious flaw that Krunker has to offer currently is the client-side reporting, because it means that the player's position is reported to the server, which is then what you see. So when you shoot at someone, you're actually shooting at the last reported position for them, not where they actually would be. That means that it's catering to those with high pings because the position could be 100 millisecond late or more. The next issue would be FPS-based location. So have you ever noticed how some Krunker players will be floating in the air, chug around, or seem to have less gravity than you? When designing a multiplayer game, it's important to have players' movement tied to a constant. In simpler terms, it would mean that your movement should not be based off of what you see as a player. It should be based off of the world and apply to everybody equally. In Krunker, your movement is based off of your location. So those weird players that seem to be stuck in time are actually just playing at a low FPS, or may have very sloppy systems that are constantly freezing. Again, it makes it really difficult to provide a consistent experience and can result in manipulation overall, which again makes it more difficult for the honest players to consistently perform. And we really should at this point address the elephant in the room when we talk about manipulation. Another massive issue, I would say the biggest issue that Krunker needs to address immediately, is the hacking issue. It is the elephant in the room when you're discussing Krunker and how to improve it. At the time of this video, the issue has hit a point where it could single-handedly destroy Krunker and its community. I've personally seen games with 3 or more blatant togglers, aimbotters, and wall hackers. While an anti-cheat may be out of the question for an IO game, the issue needs to be addressed. The easiest barrier to entry for hackers would be account verification at setup. Requiring a text message or code or email to be sent would stop a large portion of these hackers from creating multiple accounts, or at least creating them so quickly, as is customary now with the hacking community, it seems. As an added benefit, developers wouldn't have to sort out the password resets as they do now, and you wouldn't have to prove that your own account is yours after forgetting your password. I propose a full-time staff that would be tasked with handling hackers quickly. This has been proposed by the new Krunker Police Department update. In that system, players will be able to apply tags to hackers after reviewing the evidence. These would be players that are trusted after an application process by the development team. This can be dangerous though. Many players lack the background or knowledge to distinguish hackers from talented individuals, as I've seen on my stream in the past. So how does a small game developer afford a full-time moderator to tame the serious issue in Krunker of hacking? It's a good question. Let's discuss Krunker's business model. The only way to spend money on the game currently is to purchase KR, which is used for purchasing items outright from other players, opening crates, and purchasing Krunker Premium, which gives certain benefits to users that enroll. For most people, KR is bought to use on spins. That is a large part of the content creation for Krunker and Intrigue, but it is really no more than gambling. I talk about on my stream often how you really shouldn't spin. This business model has been denounced by most companies and players across many games, since it is by design made to cheat the player. The odds of winning will always lean towards wasting KR that was used to spin. Sure, some players will greatly profit, but it pales in comparison to those who lose. Losing is not a good feeling, right? So for those who lose and don't purchase more, they're unlikely to purchase it again. For those who opt to buy more, it's through the addictive tendency of gambling, really. A difficult stance to take in a game that has a community mostly consisting of young adults. For those of you who use the KR on Krunker Premium, they are unlikely to feel satisfied with the purchase. At the end of the day, it gives access to a couple commands in custom games and the ability to change names, as well as a ticket for 50,000 KR raffle at the end of the month. What would be more satisfying, though, from this current system would be a guaranteed benefit for a fixed price. Games like League of Legends, games like Valorant, they thrive on microtransactions with no randomness involved. It's straightforward pricing. Whereas games with randomized crates and spins like Overwatch find their finances lacking. The bones for a system like this are already in place, with the developers regularly implementing events like the Twitch drops and holiday exclusives It just needs to be altered slightly to entice players to spend more money and have a more positive outcome. So this business model really can work, and it's worked in other games, but here's a couple of ideas to enhance it for Krunker itself. The more money that Krunker can generate fairly means a better experience for the purchaser, the player, and a better experience for the developer, and more tools for that developer to implement. So a couple of ideas for this would be to offer a premium subscription through money only, not KR, since that's obtainable for free as well. The developers could also implement the exclusive skins as purchasable items outright rather than randomized spins. Hell, players love their mods. They could just give us the ability to alter more than we can currently with mods for a developer subscription. Something completely different, possibly. The sky's the limit, really. But that could bring us to what should be done going forward in Krunker altogether. So, what should we do going forward? There, again, was that leak of survival mode, which I think really should be discussed. The road ahead, it could be really great. It could be a hindrance. We'll have to see. There's been confirmation recently that the survival mode is coming to Krunker. I have to be completely honest. When I say in my mind, it is absolutely not the correct direction for the game. A change like that would only separate the attention of the developers between two disconnected game modes, when really the base game itself could do some more to ground itself. Also, the survival mode pulls away from the charm and draw of Krunker in the first place, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, why I got involved in the game, why so many people get hooked so quickly. People love that fast-paced movement, concentration on aim, and a high skill cap. There are rumors of a possible Battle Royale mode coming to Krunker before the survival leak. That would be a much more interesting development and fall right within the developer's current wheelhouse, more than a survival mode, and it would add something the BR genre has not seen before. Instead of a Minecraft with a bit of Rust thrown in, we could have a Battle Royale that has concentration on movement over accuracy and graphics that are completely separate from the current norm. That would actually be something people would try Krunker just to test. There's actually some cooler ideas out there that my streams talked about. We came up with something like a gulag that would be a Western shootout instead, where you would have people on the count of 3 turn around and shoot, and the winner drops back into the Battle Royale. Or, maybe a gladiator match with melee weapons that you could fight to the death to re-enter. You could really do a lot of things with that game mode that would be able to be pulled off, because the game itself is a little bit more on the whimsical side of things. So again, I love Krunker. I play it every day. I'm really not saying these things to whack it, because I think there's a whole lot of opportunity out there for the game. I've played it for at least 6 hours a day, every day since I started playing, and I've come to know and appreciate the community, as well as make friends along the way. I'm completely enthralled with the game and the core gameplay mechanics, and I want nothing but the best for it. So with all that being said, I may never get my blue check mark for my concerns, but I hope that they help pave a clear path forward for Krunker altogether. If you guys want to talk a little bit more about this, or if you want to have a further discussion, feel free to stop by my stream. I will be live 7 days a week, starting on the 14th. Currently, I stream Monday through Friday, and I appreciate you sticking it all the way through. My body, it's all over the microphone.